This is my 4.8 liter that will be going in my completely gutted 240. We gotta do a few things first though, because if not, this ain't gonna work. Stock 4.8 truck motor. Today we're gonna be finishing up what needs to be done to get this running and get it in the car. I'm going to be cleaning the heads and degunking them of oil because they're off another 4.8. I'm going to be timing the motor. I'm going to be replacing the oil pan, putting an oil pump on, and you're going to come along with me for the ride. So, stay tuned. I'm going to grab some parts, and I'll show you exactly what we're doing. We're going to start by getting this old oil pan off and getting the surfaces prepped and ready for the new oil pan to go on that is front sump. And then I will go place the timing kit on, torque everything down, and go from there. Where did I put my ratchet? There it is. So these are sometimes a 12 or a 13. These bolts are a 13 for me. I'm just going to pop them all out, get this oil pan off. Obviously power tools makes this a little easier, but I am not going to be running the stock hardware for this purely because I don't have it all, as well as the back bolts that go into the rear cover have to be changed because they're not a rear sump vehicle anymore. So, with them being extremely long and different than the rest of your, 10, 12 millimeter bolts, it kind of makes it difficult. I didn't realize this had this many bolts in it. Shit. Alright. Well, I'm going to get this back. I'm going to get this off. So, give me a minute, and we'll be back in a second. And we're back. I took the windage tray off and the oil pan off. Obviously, I cleaned up this mating surface just to make things a little quicker. This is my first time seeing under the underside of this, obviously. Make sure we don't got any rod play or anything stupid that would cause any quick problems. It doesn't feel like we do. Everything in here looks extremely clean, which I'm extremely happy about because, again, I bought this motor for $50 and God knows where, PA. But now I'm going to introduce you to some of our new parts. Our ISR front sump oil pan, stock timing cover, Mellings 10295 oil pump. We got our Texas Speed springs, which are going to be going in our heads. New seals. We're going to lap the valves. Chevrolet Cadillac LS7 performance lifters. Brand new in the wrapper. I got to soak those still, but some new head bolts. And then our nice little timing kit from Michigan Motorsports for the Gen 4. So, we obviously have these on start. I don't know exactly. Well, these are the DOD plugs. That's obviously simple. Brand new head gaskets. I have a pickup tube kit. I don't know exactly where it is. I'm blanking on where I put it. But this is the basis of what we're going to need for today. We're going to focus on getting the lower end of this motor back together. I'm going to power wash the heads. I told you about that. I have a wonderful degreaser here. We use this at work for clearing carbon and gunk up, break up. Oven and grill cleaner works very well. Some aluminum parts can have a little issue with it, but as long as you don't let it sit on there for too long, you should be fine. But especially with that, the steel heads should be fine. But this is the parts. I'm going to get the oil pump on, get the pickup tube on, and go from there. The whole reason I removed the windage tray is because this has one, as well as has baffles for cornering and whatever else I might like to do in this. Drifting, cornering, whatever. The poison I choose may be. But this I'm super excited about. I think it's going to look great. I also forgot to mention one thing. Aluminum oil barbell. Sits in the back of the motor. They're plastic from factory, and over time as you go through heat cycles, they will warp and you will drop oil pressure. I do not want to drop oil pressure in this because I don't feel like pulling it back out and putting a new one in. So that's that. I can delete these knock sensors, which are already loose. Perfect for what I need to do. And I'm going to bring you back as soon as I get the oil pump on, and I'm ready to start on that. Okay, I actually kind of went a little ahead, but I found the bolts that I needed, thank God. I did a stupid thing, left them in my room, no big deal. But I have the timing gear already clocked. I'm ready to go. Got the timing chain all done. First, what you want to do is set the motor to top dead center. This is number one piston. It should be at the top of its stroke, especially if you have your heads off. If you don't have your heads off, you can pull the spark plug out and check it that way. But you'll be able to see this little dot there is facing straight up. Obviously, the motor's a little tilted on the stand, so it's not perfectly straight up, but see, straight up. And how you match the timing gear up, the camshaft gear to the sprocket on the crankshaft, is you just make sure these two little things are lined up. Super simple, super easy. I'm going to go ahead. I got to double check the torque spec on this because I honestly forget. I haven't done it in a little bit. But I'm going to torque this plate down. I believe it's 22 foot-pounds or 15 foot-pounds, something super simple and light. I like to Loctite these in. These are ARP hardware. Makes life super simple, super easy. I'm going to do that. And then I am going to get the oil pump on the actual block, which sits in front of this. And this is what turns the oil pump. I will show you the little trick I do for that to make sure it's perfectly center. From there, we go ahead and we're able to throw the front cover back on and attach the oil pickup tube, which we'll flip the motor back over for. You got to make sure you have the oil pickup tube on and fully seated in the oil pump before you actually throw the timing cover on. Or you will have a lot of issues because that seal on the pickup tube right there, that little black seal, can be the bane of your existence if you don't do it right and will cause you to have to pull the whole motor apart again. One more quick disclaimer. Forgot to mention this. On these Gen 4 LSs, you have to put the little, just like a rubber timing chain guide you got to put in there. It kind of eats up some of this slack. But it's right here. I got to check the torque spec on it. It just pops in like this. Super simple, super easy. Forgot to mention that. After this, I will go ahead and get this oil pump loosely bolted up, take the front cover of the oil pump off, and show you my trick to actually get that good to go and ready to be fully bolted down and installed. And we're back, finally. I got the oil pump loosely bolted on, obviously, not fully down. Kind of defeats the purpose of what I'm doing. But what I've been taught with building these motors is you have to look. Because these gears here that actually move the oil don't perfectly sit on this sprocket center. So if you try and do it like this, eventually it can cause premature wear on the pump, and you don't want that. But I do have a trick to actually fix that. That's why I took the front cover off. They are a T something. T30 Torx bit 90% of the time. You can pop the cover off and you get these little things called shims. And I don't remember exactly off the top of my head what size shim you need, but you get the shims. You put them in both sides, one in here and one in here. It'll space it out. You torque down these bolts here, because then it'll sit the pump perfectly center. Put the front cover back on, torque them down, and then you're good to go. So I'm going to actually quickly look up what shim I need for this. I believe it's 0.056 and 0.055. I got to double check, but I believe that is the correct spacing. I'll let you know in a second when I figure it out and I get the shims and we're ready to perfectly center this oil pump and torque it down. All right, I found the correct sizing, and it is 0.002 and 0.0025. A lot of methods are you stick multiple in, one here, one here, one here, one here. You don't have to do that. What I do is I do it long ways, hamburger style. I put them in to, about like that. Sometimes you gotta, shimmy it in. This. Simple enough. And then you're gonna torque this down. The whole reason you do that is because oil won't be able to get around the outside of the gear, which will just help destroy your crank and oil pump, and it's a pain. You don't need that, especially if you're here doing the work. And just do it the right way. These are like $10 at AutoZone. Little Duralast feeler gauge kit set. Obviously, you can go to the extreme and buy a nicer one. I end up losing these, if I'm being all honest with you. So I just end up getting cheap ones or doing whatever I have to be able to do the build. It's not a big deal. Sure, they're even cheaper on Amazon if you really look for them, but none of the official websites or pages that produce these oil pumps actually show you doing that. It's a little trick that I've been taught and I've done over the years when I'm doing oil pumps and anything along those lines. Makes life a lot easier. Also kind of helps you. It also gives you a chance to go and pre-lubricate the pump with some heavier gear oil or any like assembly lube. Keeps everything nice and wet, and you're not running anything dry, which again, anybody that's built a motor before or is looking to build a motor, or you should know, you want it to be as wet as possible with as much lubricating fluid everywhere. That's why building engines, you get disgustingly gross. But I gotta torque this down. I believe it's 22 foot-pounds. I'm gonna double check and come right back, and then I'll show you torquing it down and show you exactly how the pump should still be able to move. This collar, these two gears in here, should be freely able to move once you remove the shims. You shouldn't have any problems. 18 foot-pounds is the number. I have my torque wrench over here already set up to 18 foot-pounds, which is perfect. It's a 10 millimeter. You want to just go around till you hear the click. This doesn't click, but you feel the handle give way. Torque it down. I like to double check, do just a second run. Make sure we're all good on the torque spec, because I don't want anything rattling loose, especially inside the motor. That's why I'm using Loctite on it all. Blue or red is what I prefer to use. I prefer to use red, but I don't have any. I just have blue, but that should be good. So now I'm going to pull the shims out, and you're going to be able to see that it just moves. It's freely able to move. See how it's not loose or locked up. There's no binding at all. So that means we did a good job. Now I'm going to grab some assembly lube, squirt it in there. This way it makes first start up or just rotating the motor over. Ow, that's a transmission. Super nice and simple. It just wants to do it. It doesn't want to give us any problems. I mean, it's definitely gooey. It's nasty. You get crap everywhere. but it's something you're going to want to do, especially if you want to have any sort of longevity out of a motor you're building. And me personally, I'd rather build things that run well and forever and not push the absolute limits than go and just blow something up because I want it to make 1,000 wheel horsepower, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. It's just not responsible for me to do that. So I'm going to start a few bolts on this front cover. I believe these also get torqued to 18 foot-pounds, but I also put Loctite on them as well because I don't want anything rattling out. You know, a motor that could see a lot of vibrations definitely will have some stuff that wants to rattle apart, especially a motor, especially a V8. Not perfectly balanced, but balanced enough. I need to talk a little bit more on the camshaft I put on this. It was a Texas Speed low lift truck cam. Nothing too crazy. I didn't want to do any crazy heads or, you know, have to do any crazy machine work to make everything work. I just wanted to slap it in, get it to run. I'm running a carburetor on this. If you haven't tuned into any of the other videos, please tune in and look and see the progress I've made. But I just want a little thump, nothing too crazy, and I want it to pick up and kind of not be a dog when I'm at lower RPM. But I think between the carburetor and the camshaft, we should have all bases covered, and this thing should move. I did the calculations on weight yesterday. One of these 240s with this stock motor and drivetrain with no interior weighs about 2,400 pounds. I have to say, I assume that it's going to be roughly the same, maybe a little heavier, just purely because this is an iron block V8 compared to a iron block 4-cylinder, an aluminum 4-cylinder if you have the SR20. But nonetheless, with two people in it, me and a co-pilot, we should be sitting right around 3,000 pounds, and that is a recipe for success. So I'm going to get the rest of these in so you don't hear me keep blabbering. I'll come back once I torque it down. I'll time lapse it real quick, make it go by way faster for you. Oil pump and timing chain is all installed and beautiful. The front cover bolts are 8 foot-pounds. It's kind of a pain. It's actually 106 inch-pounds. If you convert that to foot-pounds, 8 pounds of pressure. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the motor over. I already lost the shim. I don't know I have no idea where it went. That's no bueno. But we're going to flip it over, put the oil dipstick on, throw the pan on, seal it up where we need to. Actually, I'm going to put the front cover on first. I lied. I'm going to do that so that I can flip it over, throw everything I need to on. Then I'm able to put the oil pump on, or the oil pickup tube on, and the oil pan on. So before I flip it over, I just want to go over some things. Did the front cover on. I screwed up, and I don't know if you saw in the time lapse, I put the seal on backwards, popped it off, flipped it back over. But another big crucial part is make sure that these are somewhat aligned. You will crack your cast aluminum oil pan if that isn't close to being aligned. And when you torque down the pan, it'll snap and break, and it'll be miserable. Ask me how I know. But before I flip it over, I'm going to actually do the bullets under the valley tray real quick. Just to make my life nice and easy. Get it done. Super excited to get these bullets in. It's really easy. Take me 20 minutes max. But I'll obviously explain what I'm doing, and then I'll just do it. So I took the top cover off. Now with Obviously, the motor being out of the vehicle, it makes it 10 times easier to do this, but even with it in the car, this is probably one of the easiest things you can do, especially doing cam swap, and probably one of the cheapest things you can do to actually make sure that your AFM and DOD LSs survive, especially if you've deleted the DOD and the AFM and have done the tune delete and all of that. So, I don't know if you can see this, but there's little seals here. Little black O-rings. You're going to basically remove. You're going to use the stock cover. You're going to pluck these off. You can see that they're brittle and hard and old and not very nice anyway to begin with. Now, personally, I'm going to go and clean these up. These may, with some brake clean, just get the oil off of the area I need it. You don't have to. I just want to do it for aesthetic purposes and my own mental state. But this is the underside of the tray. These seals sit in here. Obviously, you're still going to need the outside seal, because this is crucial. You're going to need that to keep oil in the motor. But what the little plugs do is, I call them bullets. You can call them whatever you want. Just don't call me late for dinner. These, a little tapered bullet, that you pop in the top here, like so, and you quite literally smack it flush with a hammer. And this will eliminate any of the oil traveling through these galleys to go delete to the lifters, and it gives you such a good result. You can go and buy the $600 cover that's supposed to delete it and do it that way. Do it this way. These are literally $12 on Amazon for a set of 8. Do it this way. Take you 10 minutes max once the intake's off, and it'll save you so much time, effort, energy, headache, whatever you want to name. You name it, you do it. Just do it this way. Super simple. I'm just going to show you on a time lapse. I'll show you the finished product. Then we'll throw the cover back on after I clean up clean up the seal a little bit so it doesn't leak, and do what I have to. But super simple. I'll show you in a second. And we're done. Obviously, time lapse much quicker for you, but all you do, you place the smaller side in, and you quite literally tap them flush with a hammer until they're fully in, and you're done. You can throw your valley cover back on, and you've officially done a good DOD delete. I'm gonna clean this up with some brake clean or some rags because there's some residue oil. It's kind of in the way. I don't have a new top cover for it, but I'm not too concerned about it. It's an easy fix if it does end up leaking. But the DOD is now done. I really gotta get a whiteboard in the garage and start writing stuff on it. But moving on, we're gonna continue to our original plan, get the pickup tube on, get the oil pan on. But before we do that, I'm gonna take this rear cover off and see if I can snake the oil barbell out of there without completely killing myself and doing it that way. If not, I'll have to do it right before the motor goes in. Not a big deal. A little frustrating because I'll have to pull the back 2 bolts out of the oil pan. But nonetheless, we're going to keep moving, keep this moving forward, and see how it goes. I mean, it shouldn't be too hard. I may have made a mistake and not gotten lifter trays, so I'll have to come back later with that. I gotta do some work on my personal truck, but if that doesn't happen and we don't get the heads on in this video, we will at least have the oil pan on and be good to go from there. So unfortunately, I was just messing around and I already popped this in. It was that simple. But this is the pickup tube for the front sump. Single bolt in here. It's very crucial you don't drop this bolt. You will have a miserable time, especially if you're not pulling the oil pan off and doing this in your car. But bolt here to hold it. I got the bolts over there. It's more of a nut, but nice and easy. The oil pan, sorry, brain fart. Basically, after this, you put the seal on. Put some RTV in these areas just to seal. I'm gonna definitely seal those up. I'm gonna clean the surface up again because we got some residual oil left over. But I'm gonna get this installed, time lapse putting that on, and show you the finished product because, again, I don't need to bore you with that. It's bolts. just like that, the oil pan is on. It's not fully torqued down, just purely because the bolts that came with it are Allen's, and that's kind of a pain with hand tools. I'm gonna actually get some tools from work real quick, and a little later today, and torque these down properly. These are kind of a pain. They're going to be fun to try and torque down, but we'll get that. I'll have to pop these two out when I go to do the rear of the motor. I think I'm going to make my plan trying to get this in the car today. If it doesn't happen because I don't have help or whatnot, what maybe, what not maybe, I don't know. We'll figure that out. I'll see if I can have somebody come over this week and help me. Motor's in the car, hopefully, shortly. This week is the plan. But the oil pan is on. We can keep moving forward to the next things we have to do. We have to focus on the heads. That is going to be miserable. And you'll understand why. So, it started to rain, unfortunately. I brought this in. I'm glad we got the timing done, the oil pan on. I'm going to end the video for that today. I will do a separate video with actually cleaning the heads and washing them, getting them on, building them, putting springs, retainers, the valve seals in, lapping the valves, doing everything that I need to do. But that will be all. Thanks for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe. We're one step closer to getting this motor in Rat Trap and getting Rat Trap running, which is always amazing to hear and super exciting for myself, as well as I'm sure the viewers. But one step closer. One step closer. That's all we care about. Thanks for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe. Share the channel. And have a good day. Peace.